Hello guys, my name's Ben of His and Hers Vlogs, and welcome to the ultimate homemade expedition vehicle for under $100,000. 100 grand! That sounds like a lot of money, and trust me, it is, but when you're looking at expedition vehicles, it's not that much money. These things can easily cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, whether or not you build it yourself or you choose to purchase one from one of the manufacturers. We thought about building our own expedition vehicle, but we don't have a large shop along with all the necessary tools to complete the job. We also have a home base in Alaska, which means we're pretty much at the end of the supply chain and everything is harder to get and more expensive. One thing we did have going for us was location independence, meaning we can be where we want to be when we want to be there. And this made the idea of buying a turnkey vehicle all that more appealing. So through years of financial discipline and out-of-the-box thinking for earning a living, we were able to muster up $90,000. And that included our expenses of shipping the vehicle to Europe to start an adventure over there. If you're interested in learning more about location independence, head over to our website, hisandhershub.com, and click on the Learn tab. We also have a really good course about buying an expedition vehicle that's worth checking out. So we found our expedition vehicle on the for sale forums of the website expeditionportal.com and bought it from a very nice family in Montana for $88,000, thus blowing pretty much the entire $90,000 budget. They were the second owners and left their mark by finishing the interior and upgrading the chassis. The original builder was a sailor, and we believe that the camper was constructed back in 2013. So our purchase proves that you can buy a quality used expedition vehicle for under $100,000, but in 2019, can you still build one for under $100,000? Good news, yes you can. Between balancing camper costs and chassis costs, along with the heavy investment of sweat equity, I do believe it is very obtainable, and you might even be able to pull off getting the newer, modern composite walls for the camper. Since we blew our budget getting the right vehicle, we decided to make the most out of life and do another road trip around North America, this time in a 4x4 expedition vehicle. You can find all the videos from that journey on our YouTube channel, His and Hers Vlogs, or on our website, www.hisandhershub.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because coming up, I'm going to be jumping more into the systems like the electrical, the heating system, and the appliances, and going into greater detail. Well, here's Rebecca, and let's get started with the tour.
So our expedition vehicle is built on a Mitsubishi Fuso FG140 chassis. This is a 2007. It is manual transmission with factory four-wheel drive. It does not require ultra-low sulfur diesel or DEF fluid, which is why we went with an '07 chassis. That was the last year this company made that type of a vehicle. To say that we love our chassis is probably an understatement. We are not sure there's anything better than this.
When you're talking expedition vehicles, chassis is everything. You could have the most amazing box, but if it's not a good vehicle for rolling down the road or to get you places that you need to go, it's worthless. The Fuso is a medium-duty commercial work truck. This is meant to be used on mines, construction sites, snow plowing, industrial applications. You know, the tried and true systems of a straight axle. That's bulletproof technology. Manual locking hubs. Our suspension has been modified. These are parabolic leaf springs from Earth Cruiser and rad flow shocks. They dramatically improve the road manners when you're switching over to more of a recreational and travel vehicle. The other Earth Cruiser edition that we have are their super single wheels. So factory it comes with dual rear wheels, but these are 16-inch, and we run 315 75 R16 Yokohama Geolanders on them, and we've just been very impressed, especially with having only a single wheel to deal with in the rear.
So continuing on around the truck, we have our clean air snorkel attached to our air filter. This is all factory. Back here is one of our 30-gallon diesel tanks, and right behind it you can see our fuel filter bowl.
and you can't really get it too good of a look, but this box sits on a 3-point subframe, and then there's these little bump stops to help keep things a little bit more under control.
We weren't too sure about the steps system when we first bought the truck, but they actually have turned out to be fantastic. They essentially fold up, disconnect here, and we store them right here in the door of the vehicle.
Yeah, very impressed with them, because on the Dempster, everything else that was underneath the cab was covered in mud, and these steps stayed clean. Right here to the rear of the fuel tank is a shelf that we used to have our 3 AGM batteries on, but when we upgraded to lithium, those had to get moved inside. So I'm not sure what's going to go here, but it is going to get utilized in some way. We do have an onboard air compressor. I can't lie, it's on the fritz right now, and I just need to take it apart and mess with it, and hopefully I can get it running again. We do not have an internal gray tank. So this is external. It is a weak link in cold weather, but it's also not like your traditional RV. It's just literally a hose with a little bit of an on-off valve. And we really don't have a problem dumping our gray water. We do it in areas where it's courteous to other people, but it's just soapy water, and we use environmentally friendly soaps. All food remnants are captured by a little mesh screen. It's harmless stuff. It's not like dumping 100 gallons of water out of a giant RV. We don't use that much water, so we have no problem just letting it go, you know, in some little discreet private location.
Next up, the toilet. So we have a Thetford Cassette Toilet. This is the cassette, very easy to extract.
Yeah, the convenience of the cassette has been awesome, because we can dump our toilet pretty much anywhere. Our favorite places are outhouses and vault toilets at campgrounds. They are easier to work with. The dump station holes can
make a mess.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to hit.
Although we hear in Europe that they have cassette toilet holes, and so we're thinking maybe that'll be easier.
Yeah.
It also has its own water supply, so you don't use up your fresh water, and you can just open this up and fill it, and then it lasts forever.
Yes, very happy with it. Here's our freshwater fill. We hold 40 gallons, and exterior lighting, and then these little aluminum boxes are nice. Just miscellaneous stuff, tools and bottle jacks and torque multipliers go in there. The rear of the camper, we have marker lights up there and a reverse camera, which is extremely helpful. And then coming on down, our spare tire, that same super single from Earth Cruiser, and then swings right out. And this is our garage. You know, all things considered, this is a lot of storage, guys.
Tons, actually.
Yeah. We're not full timing right now, so it's extremely empty. But when we're on the road full time, this thing is chock full. All right, noteworthy things back here. This is our Isotherm hot water heater. It's electric and also collects heat off of the engine coolant. So as you're driving, you're heating hot water as well. And I'll get into that whole system later because it is all interconnected. Another helpful thing here, we like to use things that are square. This is a very tight space, and file boxes are your friend. You can stack them up like Tetris blocks, and very, very handy.
Okay, underneath our back bumper here, nice protection with the departure angles for being off-road. We have our Espar Heater. It's a diesel hydronic heater that takes care of our cabin and will also preheat our engine.
This is the other storage box. Nothing too fancy, just oil and vodka. No, it's actually not vodka. I had diesel in there for fuel filter changes. But then just moving along, we have the other 30-gallon fuel tank. And then just forward of that are the engine batteries. The power plant of this beast is a Mitsubishi engine, the 4M50, and produces 175 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. To get to the engine, this is one of those cab over chassis or cab over engine, however you want to say it, but this whole thing flips forward and we can access the entire top part of the engine. Very, very handy.
We've been really pleasantly surprised at how comfortable the cab of this truck has been. It's very simple, but we do have electric windows and locks. I've got switches all over here for four-wheel drive and whatnot. It is a manual transmission, basic radio and air conditioning controls, factory.
Yep.
Yeah, all factory. A few amenities like storage and cup holders.
Cup holders! Gotta have cup holders.
Gotta
Oh wait,
have cup holders.
I forgot the best part. Let me move it over here. Oh yeah, we're sporting ashtrays.
And of course the cab would not be complete without a place for Shelby. She's got her seat belt and bed, and then a little stand over here where we can store her water and food while we're traveling.
The previous owner, Dave, built this little shelf, and it's been quite handy. Don't worry, that is not a used dog poop bag. That is actually probably just some paper in there. But we keep a basket under here with all kinds of knickknacks for the road. The oddball fire extinguisher, wet wipes, there's a code reader, tire pressure gauge, all the things that you're gonna need while you're driving. Space is always a premium, so we keep our drinking water hoses under the passenger seat. It works out well. You got to make the most of all the space.
One thing that we really do love about this truck after having had some other RVs is it forces you to kind of get back in touch with nature. To really be happiest, we live out of this camper as opposed to most of the others we've had. We lived in the camper. So we thought we'd show you our living room. This barbecue has turned out to be an amazing asset. We've done a lot of our cooking, especially in a time when our stove inside didn't work for a while. We do have dedicated ceramic pot and pan for out here on the barbecue.
The lifetime tables. Gotta love these things.
Yeah, especially
the legs are adjustable to 3 heights. And here's another one of our file boxes, but this is the one that we keep all the odds and ends that we're gonna need no matter what when we set up a little outside day camp.
So this is our living room furniture. We've got a nice table, chair for each of us, and a bed for Shelby. These chairs have turned out to be amazing. We kind of bought them in a hurry. The very first weekend we took this truck out because we didn't have camp chairs.
Yeah, if you can find them at a Murdoch's, these are going to be your best friend for camping. This little end table from Walmart was super handy.
Yeah, because it's firm so you can set things like plates and computers on top of it, but it also has drink holders so you don't spill drinks.
And it rolls up into a tube.
And Shelby loves her bed, which also rolls up into a tube.
Because every square inch counts, guys. This campground has all kinds of limbs that they have trimmed up, which keeps the fire going nicely. Over here we like to store our campfire wood in these Costco bags. Very, very handy. And also be careful when traveling with firewood because it can introduce invasive species. So this is all local firewood from our house, which is kind of local.
A little bit more about the construction of the box. It was built in Georgia. We are actually the third owners. It is a steel frame with aluminum panels. Obviously, higher end versions come with composite walls, but this measures 13 by 6.5 feet on the inside, so it's tiny space.
So overall, this truck in its entirety is just under 21 feet long with the spare tire and 10.5 feet tall. A very small footprint and 7.2 wide, which means we can fit in parking spots, guys. This is an amazing build. The person who put it together was a sailor and everything is well thought out. Despite being really small, it's very well thought out, and we've grown to appreciate all that forethought over the time when we were on the road living in it, and still now as we are going to embark on a grander journey in the near future.
Well, welcome to the inside of our tour. Before I show you a little bit more of the dinette, we did forget to tell you there's 520 watts of solar on our roof. So moving right along, I am sitting on half of our 36-inch wide dinette. It converts into a bed as well, so this table drops down and there's another piece so someone can sleep here. We are in bear country, so don't mind the firearms. We have to protect ourselves and be responsible.
Yep.
Along the top there, you'll see that we have kind of improvised with some additional storage. Ben built these in for me. I picked them out from Michael's, just something easy
Nothing
to do.
too fancy, but it did the job for right now.
Yeah.
And
in time, we'll do some remodel to the interior in
Yep.
terms of storage and colors and things like that.
well, now down here in the footwell of the dinette is Shelby's area, and we like to procure our own drinking water. And this little electric pump from Walmart is awesome. So there's all kinds of little nooks and crannies for storage around here, but this is one of them. And this is a shoe bin.
Darn, the one compartment I didn't clean up for today.
Hey, you know, it's real. And below that, I'm not going to take it all apart right now, guys. That'll be a separate video when I get into the electrical system, but our inverters down there, this is a radiator style heater box for the coolant that circulates through the system for one of our heating systems. Back there is an outlet for when we are plugged into shore power. The inverter is a very basic one. We haven't upgraded that yet. So we kind of have some power strips running to 3 various locations. They're not running far because it's only a 13-foot box. Right down here are the meters for the TriStar Solar and the Victron battery management system. Really cool electronics. These are old dials from the original builder, and I'm not sure what he was keeping track of with those. Under the dinette on the passenger side, you kind of have to move the cushions to really get under there, but it's a good sized storage bay. And actually underneath this whole compartment here would be our lithium Battle Born battery bank. But we just store linens and towels and various odds and ends, and just added storage, guys. That's what it's all about. On the driver's side of the dinette is where our refrigerator is. Not the most convenient position in the world, guys, but this is a 12-volt refrigerator by Webasto. I believe it's also one of the Isotherms, and it works fairly well. We're learning the pros and cons to it. You know, like produce really should be in like an acrylic bin to keep it from being near the walls and freezing, but everything's a learning curve, and it's so far a very handy appliance. Unfortunately, the location leaves a lot to be desired, but when you get into this camper, you start to realize there's not too many other places you can put it.
So next up is the bathroom, and it has some really critical features in our opinion. Number one is that it's a wet bath and has a shower. Ben showed you the hot water heater outside, but on the other side of this we have an Oxygenics shower head, which really, between a super powerful water pump and this Oxygenics shower head, you'd think you were showering at home. We've got our cassette toilet.
It's molded really well into there.
Yeah.
It does not look like an over-glorified porta potty.
No, and it's pretty comfortable to sit on.
Hey, what about the hula hoop?
That's right. We got this at Expo West this year, so if you don't have anywhere to hang your toilet paper in your wet bath, check out pulahoop.com.
I always want to accidentally say pula-la.
I think that might be the air freshener. Well, one of the challenges to having a wet bath that we identified right off the bat was if you stepped into the wet bath to go potty, then your feet were wet and you tracked it all over the place, and then this was dirty. So last summer I figured out if we would put a wooden shower mat in here. This you can stand on while you shower, and then on top of it we can lay our shower mat that sits outside while we're showering in here. Your feet stay dry, then the bottom stays clean, then you have a clean place to put your feet when you step outside the bathtub. It's a great system, works really well. We also keep our toilet cleaner stuff here, toilet treatment, and we keep a 1 gallon water bottle here so we can flush out the cassette if we're dumping somewhere that doesn't have running water. Okay, Ben, I think I have to let you share your favorite appliance inside the camper. This guy goes on and on about this one all day, every day.
Well, that's because it finally works reliably. We had troubles with our Wallace ceramic diesel stovetop. It was one of the big selling points of the camper, but it just needed a maintenance in a serious way, and we didn't get it until Seattle, like on our way home. So we put up with like 11 months of this thing not working right. But now that it works right, it is awesome. So this diesel draws off our tanks. No propane in this camper at all. The guys at that shop said this thing draws 3/4 of an amp at full high speed. That's nothing, guys. And it also like just drips diesel. So an amazing, efficient appliance. While we were in Seattle, we added this nifty accessory to it, which is a blower lid. And what that does is it turns this into a heater. Pretty amazing. So air kind of comes under here and out here and blows over the surface, and it's like having a campfire in here. And we have finally been able to, it puts off a lot of heat, but it's getting below freezing at night. And now that it's actually getting cold, it's getting to the point where we can maybe get it up off of low. This thing puts off so much heat. So I'm sure the Alaskan winter is gonna put this thing to the test, but we had this thing running all night last night, honey, and it's so quiet.
And the hood stays cool, so
yes,
you don't burn yourself.
And it's a very sharp looking appliance.
It's beautiful.
Well, this is the underside of the stove. You can see the whole infrastructure off of it and the little controls. We need to relocate this little module box here to a more open location, because when you do that, you can actually use this thing as like a thermostat on the wall, and it will regulate and control the temperature inside the camper. The Instant Pot down here, great storage. We have a basket for produce. That's a nice cool area in the camper.
But before we talk about the freezer, I do want to point out this storage solution as well. My friend Josh from school and Ben built it last summer, and it has been a godsend to be able to store bottles, spices, silverware, cooking utensils, towels, toothbrushes, and soap.
Yep.
Right above the
There is
cabinetry.
a complement to it as well.
Yeah, for our bathroom stuff.
Yeah, Josh with his wood shop really came through to help us solve some storage problems.
Especially since it has these hangers on it, because we each have 3 to hang clothes on. So a little hidden gem in our cabinetry here is our freezer. And this was also a huge selling point. We're actually getting ready to add some ventilation to it in hopes that it will freeze a little better.
Yeah.
Right now it keeps things frozen, but you can't actually put something in there and expect it to get frozen.
But keep in mind, it is a 12-volt freezer as well, no propane.
That's right. And it will keep ice frozen. Moving right along, I wasn't sure about the round sink when we moved in, but I have ended up loving it. If you look at this, how deep it is, like
yeah, it's a very,
wrist
very
to elbow.
deep sink.
Very deep. So great for doing dishes, and then I kind of love that I can cover it up and pretend there's no dishes in there if we have company. We do have some more cabinetry up top. We use a lot of baskets to organize things, and so food kind of goes on the left here, and then we have plates and silver and dishes and whatnot on this side.
All these little baskets came from Joann's and Michael's. And we would literally buy them, come out here to the camper, see what fit, went and returned some, came out with others, and
until it all
finally
fit together.
It fit.
So last cabinet in the kitchen pretty much matches the one Ben showed you on the other side. I love these sliding drawers. And then we do all sorts of things. Food,
yeah, just
bags,
whatever needs to be stored. There's more storage underneath here. And it's not super accessible, but there's the space right here, and then it goes off to my right, and we store stuff that doesn't need to be easily accessed, but within a matter of a couple minutes we can still get to it. This is our hamper. Kind of have to have something to store your dirties, then camera gear, printer, a little peephole to check the level on your freshwater tank. So the 40-gallon tank is right underneath there. Well, this is the bedroom. Not much of a room, but we do have a complete regular sized queen size bed, not an RV short. The bed is rather difficult to make given the fact that it's surrounded by walls on 3/4 of it. But you do have the option, since this is like the bedroom and when it's really rainy and crappy outside, it's also our living room. So we have this thing we call day bed where we put the cushions, our pillows, against the wall, and then there's a night bed where we put them over here and sleep. It's just making the most of the space that you have. The person, Dave, who we bought it from, built these very nice cabinets, and just like everything else, well, I can't really see it right now, but there are baskets everywhere in all of our cabinets. Whatever we can do to make the most of the space.
And keep it organized.
Yes.
Well, as you can see, it's pretty cozy and comfortable back here. A little bit more in terms of storage. These are deeper storage cabinets. So Ben and I each have one of these 18 by 12 inch baskets and for our clothes. And then we share one basket for socks and undies. Since this is also the living room, this is our entertainment center for the RV, a 12-volt television with built-in DVD player. We also plug in a Roku stick when we have high-speed internet. That way we can watch TV in bed or in the living room. One thing our bedroom was lacking when we moved in were nightstands. So Ben and I found these baskets and installed one on each side for us. Perfect for storing a book or Kindle, glasses, remotes, those kinds of little things. One thing that was really a huge selling point for us on this rig were the Dometic Sights windows. They're acrylic. You can see here we have a mosquito screen or a blackout blind. And when you open the window, this is great for like when it's raining because you can open the window and you don't get wet. It has 3 settings, so you can open it as much or as little as you want. And we do this a lot where we set it on a vent setting, so it's got just a little bit of air coming through. Really perfect for sleeping weather.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed our tour of the ultimate do-it-yourself expedition vehicle under $100,000. How's that sound?
I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like a winner. I know. So we also have a very helpful website, www.hisandhershub.com. We talk all about our expedition vehicle purchase experience. We even have a course outlining the process that we took to get to this point. It's pretty amazing, guys. And if you haven't done it already, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we are going places and we're taking you along.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you on the road.